What if I told you that over 160 years ago, a saint had a dream about our time? A dream of chaos, a dream of attacks against the church, a dream of a pope struck down, a dream of a world at war with faith. And in the middle of that storm, two pillars rose from the sea, one crowned with the Eucharist, the other with the Blessed Virgin Mary. This was not imagination. This was the prophetic dream of St. John Bosco, and what he saw may explain everything happening today. Stay with me, because this dream is more than history. It is a warning and a promise. A prophetic vision for our time. It was the night of May 30th, 1862. In the quiet city of Turin, Italy, the boys of the oratory gathered around their beloved spiritual father, St. John Bosco. They loved when he told stories. But this night was different. His voice was slower, more serious. He said,
"My sons, I will tell you a dream, but it was no ordinary dream."
He closed his eyes as if the vision were returning.
"I saw a vast and stormy sea. The sky above it was black with clouds. Lightning tore across the heavens. Thunder rolled like the anger of nations. Upon that sea sailed a majestic ship, enormous, radiant, unmistakable. It represented the Church. At the helm stood the Pope, calm, yet surrounded by chaos. Around this great ship, countless enemy vessels gathered. They were armed with cannons. Their flags were different. Their intentions were the same: to destroy the ship. The cannons fired. Explosions shook the waters. Smoke filled the air. The ship was struck again and again, yet it did not sink.
Don Bosco explained that the sea symbolized the world, restless, violent, full of ideologies, persecutions, and attacks against faith. The enemy ships represented forces opposed to the Church, and the Pope, standing firm at the helm, represented the visible shepherd guiding Christ's flock through history. Suddenly, in the distance, something extraordinary rose from the sea. Two towering pillars of marble, reaching high into the sky. One was taller than the other. The taller pillar bore upon it a brilliant white host, large, radiant, glowing with supernatural light. And written beneath it were the words, Salus Credentium, salvation of the believers. The Holy Eucharist. The shorter pillar bore a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Under her feet were inscribed the words, Auxilium Christianorum, help of Christians, Mary. The Pope saw these pillars and immediately steered the great ship toward them, because between those pillars there was safety. But the enemy ships noticed, and their fury increased. They rammed the vessel. They fired more cannons. They tried to board it. The sea became even more violent. The Pope was struck. He fell. A cry rose from the crew. For a moment, it seemed the Church would drift aimlessly. The enemies rejoiced. But almost immediately, another Pope rose in his place. He grasped the helm firmly. He did not hesitate. He did not retreat. He guided the ship once more toward the two pillars. The battle grew desperate. It was not an easy journey. The ship was wounded, its sails torn, its hull scarred, but it continued forward. The Pope saw these pillars and immediately steered the great ship toward them, because between those pillars there was safety. At last, through storm and smoke, the ship reached the pillars. From its sides were thrown heavy chains. One chain fastened to the pillar of the Eucharist. Another chain fastened to the pillar of Mary. The moment the ship was secured, everything changed. The wind stopped. The storm dissolved. The sea became calm. The enemy ships began colliding with one another in confusion. Some sank. Others fled. The battle ended, not with violence, but with peace. The church stood safe, anchored, unmovable. When Don Bosco finished speaking, the room was completely silent. The boys felt they had heard something more than a story. They had heard a warning and a promise. This dream, later known as the vision of the two pillars, has been interpreted by many as prophetic. Through wars, through revolutions, through persecutions, through scandals and crises, the church has sailed through storms, and always her safety has been found in two things:
the Eucharist and the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Today, the sea still feels restless. The world still feels uncertain. Faith is challenged. Truth is questioned. The church faces storms from without and wounds from within. And yet, the pillars remain. The Eucharist, Christ truly present. Mary, mother and help of Christians. Don Bosco's dream reminds us. Victory does not come through politics, or power, or strategy. It comes through anchoring ourselves to what is eternal, the body of Christ, and the mother he gave us. Imagine the great ship. Imagine the storm. Imagine the chaos. Now imagine the calm that comes when it is fastened to heaven. That is the promise of the two pillars. No matter how fierce the storm, the church will not sink, because she is guided by Christ and guarded by his mother. And so the dream of St. John Bosco is not merely a vision of the past. It is a roadmap for the future. Anchor yourself to the Eucharist. Entrust yourself to Mary, and you will not be lost at sea. The storm is not new. Every generation believes its trials are the worst. Every age feels the waves crashing against the ship, but the dream remains the same. The church survives, not because she is strong, but because she is anchored to the Eucharist, where Christ is truly present, anchored to Mary, the help of Christians. The enemies in the dream disappeared. The storm faded. The sea became calm, not because the battle was easy, but because the ship reached the pillars. And maybe that is the message for us. When the world feels unstable, when faith feels attacked, when confusion spreads like a storm, do not panic. Do not abandon the ship. Look for the pillars. Cling to the Eucharist. Hold the hand of Mary, because the dream of St. John Bosco was not a message of fear. It was a message of hope. The ship will not sink. The pillars still stand, and heaven is closer than we think.